You don't know if it's coming from the left, coming from the right, or even from under your own roof. You need to be able to react quickly. You need to be able to make a decision to change course in the direction to get back on track to the path for your goal. And you need to be prepared with a plan to pivot. Hey, what's up, all my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier with a golden nugget on the Why Not Real Estate podcast. And today, I want to unpack something about planning to pivot. So things don't always go as planned, and it's not always as easy or as clear going from point A to point B in your plans. When you finally do get a clear picture of what you want to do and where you're going, don't be surprised if every now and then there's going to be ripples that show up on the horizon that can set you off course. And I like to use the example out here. Every night we watch ships go back and forth, and they always do the same thing. They pick up over there, they bring them over there, and they go back and forth. But it's not always exactly the same course. There might be other boats, there might be other ships, there might be wind, there might be all kinds of things, currents, waves, and there's always going to be a course direction to try to get where you want to go. So just as a ship crosses the ocean, it's rarely ever in a straight line. The winds, the waves, the weather are constantly causing course corrections to get to where your final destination is. The same you're going to find is true in life, in your business, in your relationships, in your finances, and in your health. There's always going to be that point where you're going to need to pivot, where things don't always go as planned. Everything at one point in your life will set you off your path where you're going to need to make a course correction. What's important is how are you going to handle those events when they happen, especially when people you hold near and dear to you in your life are counting on you to take them to the other side. Your health is one of the first things you're going to have to take care of. How you take care of yourself and how you treat your body is going to have a huge impact on how you react to these turbulence in your life. We go from day to day like we never think we're going to die. We think we're going to live forever, all the way up until something bad happens. We can get sick. We can get diagnosed with terrible disease, or even worse. Something horrible happens to someone that we care about and that we love, that we have no control about, and we feel helpless in that situation. It usually takes some life-changing event like this to get us to reset our course and correction. Can you pivot in the face of adversity? Could you quit smoking if you had to today? Could you lose weight? Could you start making choices to eat healthy because you know you should? Or does something really bad have to happen in your life before you get that wake-up aha moment and say, really, I need to go in another direction and take care of my body and exercise or do something to make my life sustainable? So I hope in hearing this, you would realize you're holding all of the cards and the decisions that you're making, and you always have the choice to live better, exercise, be healthy, go out for a walk, take better care of yourself. All it takes is a small course correction to make that huge trajectory in your life over time. If you were to start taking better care of yourself today, start working out today, in weeks and months and years' time, you could have a totally different body. 3 years ago, I weighed 300 pounds, and now I'm under 200 pounds. I've lost over 110 pounds, which wasn't overnight. It was small choices that I had to make along the way. So can you make that pivot in your life? Because you got to have your health. If health is not in alignment, nothing else is really going to matter. You're not going to care about much more if you just don't feel well and feel good about yourself. Finances. Are you keeping your spending under control? Do you have a plan for saving up for investments so you can grow your portfolio? Do you have a plan for your golden years or for your retirement strategy? Or are you barely making enough right now to make ends meet? You may need to pivot in what you're doing or you're spending or revenue streams. You may need to look at what you're doing and what you're bringing to the table and how you can do things different. Sometimes your environment plays a huge role in the opportunities you have, and there's not much you can do about that. So what small changes can you make in your life right now that will have an impact and a trajectory over time? What short-term gratification will you sacrifice today for long-term stability tomorrow? And that's a hard question, and you got to look hard in the mirror to really try to figure that one out. You may need to make some changes in your lives. In our story, we made sacrifices every weekend working on our properties while our friends and family were attending cookouts, shopping at the mall, dining out, going to see movies. They were out having fun while we were working till 6 in the morning till 10 at night, just trying to get our properties up and running and rented. And that's what we had to do. We were working hard with the vision of where we wanted to be and what we needed to do to get there. The whole pivot for us happened a long time ago when we choose to do the hard thing. Now we can choose to do what we want. And I don't want to sound arrogant or bragging, but we definitely paid our dues to get where we were going. And we had several pivots and sacrifices and corrections along the way that we had to make on our journey. But we always stayed in motion, and we never stopped, and we never gave up. We always kept going. So take an accounting of your resources today and what you have to work with. Can you make a pivot to get your goals or get to your goals faster to enjoy your life? What can you do? What can you look at? What can you sacrifice today? What can you work harder at? Is there a second job, or is there something you really do well that you might be able to monetize? Is there a pivot you can make in place to get your finances on track to where you want to be? Your relationships. This is one of the toughest areas to manage expectations. No matter how you approach it, there are always going to be two separate ships that are not always wanting to go in the same direction. Being too rigid here can cause fractures that can take a long time to heal, if they ever do heal at all. Being able to clearly communicate your goals and desires are the key to being able to pivot to stay on course in a healthy relationship. I know there have been several times in my own relationships that the way through was the way around. Not to directly oppose the other person's view, but to take a longer path to keep the peace and eventually to get to the desired destination, so it would be a win-win for both parties. And that takes patience, endurance, and patience. And maintaining your peace through all that can be a challenge, but you have to look at it as something worthwhile. Pivoting can preserve the peace sometimes, but you have to work at it. Sometimes it's not a 50-50 solution. It's 100% that you have to put into it, or even 200% that you have to put into a relationship. If you have to drag the person behind you, kicking and screaming all the way because you know it's in the best direction to take and in their best interest to have you take the lead and bring them to where they need to be. And it's not always easy, but sometimes it's worth the sacrifice to have a long-lasting relationship. Your business can be the wild card in your deck of cards. You can't control the market, the economy, what someone will write down on a job application, or the price of tea in China. But you better have a plan if things go south. In real estate, it's easier to go into a deal with those rose-colored glasses, thinking everything's going to be fine. You're going to have visions of grandeur and financial freedom. But those rose-colored glasses don't reveal the red flags. They filter them out. So you got to go in with your eyes open and see what you're doing. You need to be flexible in your business. You need to be creative, thinking outside the box, and you need to be able to act immediately once you see a clear path ahead of you. And if change is coming down the road, you absolutely need to be able to innovate and pivot with that change. Your business may be left on the side. So recently, we've been hiring at our company for maintenance techs, and twice in a row we hired the wrong person. Lessons: we are doing a better job now screening our candidates, lessons learned, and finally found a great fit to the team. Thank you, Lord. But those errors were costly and time-consuming. But the hard thing had to be done. I had to jump on a flight. I had to show up in the office to confront the situation, take control, and let the person go. It was not pleasant, but it was needed. It needed to be done. I had to do this, not just because the person would have introduced a toxic element to our work environment, but I had the obligation to be accountable to my team. If I had not done this, it would have eroded the trust they had in me as a leader. They would have looked at me as someone who was not capable of leading me, and they would not follow me any longer. So this pivot cost me 4 plane tickets and 6 days of unexpected travel. It was worth it for me to show the team that they were more important to me than one person who would come into the team and place themselves above everyone else. In doing so, they put my company at risk, they put my team at risk, and every family that my team member supports, they put at risk. Absolutely had to let them go. So you have to be able to be on the ball in your company, and you can't let someone in your company put your team at risk. You have to be prepared to pivot and make that hard decision if it comes your way. You have to be the leader, and you have to be in charge. So you need to be prepared and plan to pivot. You don't know when it's going to happen. Recently on one of the Darren Daily podcasts, I listen to these mentorship podcasts every morning, really good stuff, only 5-10 minutes. But he told a story when Thomas Edison's factory burned down. It was a total loss. Everything they were working on, all the patents, everything was destroyed. He had to totally start all over again. But he was quoted as saying, "Now all of our past failures are behind us, and we can start fresh from here." Wow. What a position to take after absolutely losing everything. So what can you do if everything fell apart? That's what it takes sometimes. Even if you've lost it all, you have to pivot, make the change, start fresh, and keep your eye on the prize moving forward. Like I said at the beginning, it's not always a straight path to the finish line. You have to never know what might be coming from the left, be coming from the right, and you have to be prepared to pivot and make those course corrections along the way. You don't know if it's coming from the left, coming from the right, or even from under your own roof. You need to be able to react quickly. You need to be able to make a decision to change course in the direction to get back on track to the path for your goal. And you need to be prepared with a plan to pivot if you have to. This is not an easy message. I know I like to do these upbeat, really inspiring things, but this one's more for preparation, that things aren't always going to go perfect. So I hope that this at least gets you to step back a little bit, look at your operations, say, okay, so if my factory did burn down tomorrow, how would I start fresh tomorrow? I hope that this helps. All right, this is Brian Lucier from a Golden Nugget, Why Not Real Estate podcast, signing off, and we'll see you on the next one.